Hello, lots of people that I know. Good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
We are doing good. We are being low key about this because we're seeing if technical difficulties can be overcome, but we're going to be trying to live stream this on Twitter as well. Jenna, how's that going? It said that they tested that well.
Oh, I see
good.
it.
Yeah?
It's on Twitter. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yes.
We are there.
Yeah, that's so cool. Oh, that was a really cool animation.
That was really cute.
Good to see everyone. Wow. Wait,
Amazing.
are you able to yeah, okay, you've done that. You've constrained it to the actual window.
Oh,
Nice.
Twitter.
We're deploying in 2 places.
With the idea that if you want to interact, you have to come to the Discord, but you can watch it from Twitter.
I think there might be a way to I think there are eventually you could do comments on the one in the Discord as well, or on.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we'll give a couple more minutes here for people to show up, but
absolutely. Who is speaking for labs today?
I'm not sure. They may not.
I see Gar.
Oh, Gar's here? Great. Okay, Gar wasn't able to make it last week.
I think it might be you, Gar. Lots of people I haven't seen before. This is delightful.
Yeah, there's a lot of people showing up. This is so cool.
Hi, friends.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this week's community call.
Gar, I'm promoting you until someone else steps forward. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. You know, it's
that was like Gar, but I want to hear about your well-being as well.
Let's hear about Gar.
I'm finally starting to feel somewhat human. I haven't been that sick in a long time, but yeah, I'm better. Thank you.
Glad to hear.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Gar, I'm here. Well, good morning or good afternoon or good evening to everyone who is here. This is the Penumbra community call featuring specifically Radiant Commons and Penumbra Labs. I want to get better about kind of introducing the entities and sort of what we're doing to kind of contextualize everything that's going on. So Radiant Commons is represented by Park here. Is the advocacy group that is primarily supporting Penumbra. And then Penumbra Labs are the developers of the software, and we work very much in tandem to make Penumbra a reality. Here we are. So, Erwan, beautiful.
Thanks for joining us, Erwan.
Hey, hi. Yes, sorry for my.
I also see. It's okay. I also see we have Brady from Stargaze in the audience, so just like a quick little hello to you. It's cool to see you're in here. Okay, so very exciting day. I don't know if many people have seen what just went on the Twitter. It happened probably right at the beginning of this call. But and it would be really, I mean, I guess it'd be really cool if we were able to pin things in here, but maybe just put the most recent tweet in the chat there. Or Ember, if you would. It's just we have like a very exciting development that people in the Penumbra community can feel like they were heavily involved in, and for which I think we should all like focus in on and talk about it a little bit. So what I want to talk about is Radiant Commons is proud to announce the arrival of Veil, which is the alpha version of a completely revamped decentralized exchange experience for Penumbra. What this means is that people can go on there and trade in a fully private environment. This event is incredibly important. It marks a turning point in the experience of how you can use Penumbra. And it's a way for people to trade in an environment that simulates what it's like to trade on a decentralized exchange, but in a fully decentralized and private trading environment. We're incredibly excited to show you how it works, and we'll be doing that over this call and any level of any number of subsequent calls as we do updates. Show you what you can do with it, and as well as talk maybe a little bit about what comes next. It's very fortuitous that we have Gar and Erwan in here to talk about this a little bit more. This version of the Explorer was developed by the Penumbra Labs team and then was iterated on with a community of users who have been committed to evolving the experience here in the Discord itself, which is really exciting. It's something that we're trying to make a big effort on on the Radiant side, is like make it so that software that's out in the public can be the public itself can come back with feedback, and to me that's a very exciting turn of events. So this is just the first step of getting a decentralized exchange that people feel like mirrors a centralized exchange experience, but it is in a fully private environment and is interoperable with any other chain that can connect through IBC. And it also crucially means that it is the first step in really establishing a feedback cycle. It means for private crypto to be real and also a product of the user base that interacts with it. So what's really great about this is that this is a dream of expanding privacy to other chains and ensuring that privacy is not something that people go without. And having people come into the decentralized exchange environment of Veil means that they can interact directly on the Penumbra chain to accomplish their trading tasks, and use that as kind of their like base of operations for private assets throughout the IBC connected ecosystem and beyond. For now, the DEX means that people can do what they would do in the real world in terms of trading in a fully private environment instead, and evolves that model into what it means to operate in Web3. All a user has to do is shield assets into Penumbra, and then they are not only instantly private, but they can also put their assets to work. So this is a really significant achievement in how users interact with Penumbra. It's been a long time coming, right? It's been kind of like on the upswing and has been worked on the course of the last 6 months and longer since the chain itself launched. And there was kind of like a first understanding of what was actually needed for people to interact with it. So I don't want to like put you too much on the spot, Erwan, but I'd love to have you talk a little bit about like what the last 6 months have been like working on this DEX interface with Veil, and see if that's maybe something that you could give us a little bit more of a story around, because I know you've been working very hard on it over there. Erwan, is your mic working? Is my connection working? Okay, it is working, but maybe Erwan's connection is not working. Well, how about this then? Like a slight pivot there. Gar, so you can hear me, but I asked Erwan a question. It seems like Erwan's having a connection issue. So Gar, I know you just joined the PL team, and maybe you could speak a little bit to like, I know you've only been there for like a month, so I don't want to like blast you up too much. But what has been kind of your okay? Go ahead and test Erwan. Yeah, we can't hear you if you're speaking right now. I'm not sure what's going on.
I'm happy
Okay.
to jump in, Mark. That's fine.
Okay, go ahead, Gar. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm not going to steal any of Erwan's thunder. Obviously, as you mentioned, I'm quite new, and so while I'm very, very excited about this release, I have not been working on this for 6 months. What I will say is that it's incredibly encouraging to join a team where there's been such foundational work that has gone in over the last 6 months and prior to that, and to see this kind of come to fruition and something that our community can now touch and feel and play with. I'm really excited for the opportunity, as you mentioned, part two. I'm sorry if you care, my dog's going crazy. I'm very excited for the opportunity to gather feedback directly from the community. As a product manager, as a product leader, like that feedback is just gold dust to me. So there's a feedback channel in Discord. I can see that it's already quite active, but would love for you all to take a look at Veil. As I said, touch it, feel it, try to break it, and let us know in the feedback channel. Anything from small bugs that you notice, to big features and functionality that we'd like to see coming in the future.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Erwan, should we try seeing if you can speak again? We're having some technical issues here, it seems like. Gar, I really appreciate you jumping in there and speaking a little bit to it. What I think what's really important to me about this is this is like one of many steps that are needed to have us move forward toward like a very comprehensive user experience for using a fully private chain, which is really exciting. And in particular, right, like the decentralized exchange is kind of like the economic center of what it means to be able to operate with Penumbra, but it's not necessarily like the entire experience that will be available with Penumbra, because Penumbra is okay. You're working. It's awesome.
Oh, cool! Awesome!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Great. Okay, I don't know what's going on.
I was desperate.
It's okay.
This was like a nightmare. Okay, I don't know why. I'm on my phone. Somehow it didn't work either, but now it does.
No worries.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't want to interrupt either. I was just thinking like if it doesn't work, no one will hear me, so I might as well like try.
I'll turn back to you in a second. How about? Does that work?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Cool. So what this really represents, at least from the perspective of the community, is that not only is what is shared by the community like listened to and iterated upon, because when the network launched, there was really a strong understanding that like the user experience was poor. This is a significant like step forward. This is a significant improvement in the user experience, and it'll also be true across all of the other utilities that are offered by Penumbra. And what we strongly welcome from the Radiant Commons side is like offering feedback. Something that we'll be working with you all very soon on is like having the community actively engaged and iterating across all the different exist for all of the Penumbra experience, which means that we can gather all of that feedback, like no matter how harsh, and really use it in a package setting to continue iterating on how the Penumbra experience is. Like when this network was started, the only way that it was possible to like provide liquidity was through the command line, right? And that was a really complicated process, and the people still like walked through fire to make that happen. But now with Veil available, it's possible for people to go ahead and directly connect to Veil and provide liquidity without too much of a without too much user experience friction, other than needing to know what you're doing. So yeah, Erwan, I want to turn to you again. So like maybe you can give us a little bit of like what has it taken to get this experience of Veil up into the present over the last 6 months? Like tell us about like what was like Penumbra Labs' thinking with respect to like when the network launched, and then the kind of like iterating on an interface experience from there.
Yeah. So there was a few things, I guess. If you go on Veil right now, you're going to see. I'd like to share my screen, but I'm on my phone. But you can all try it out. You're going to see different elements. You're going to see ways to actually inspect the public chain state. You're going to see forms that let you trade, submit market orders, limit positions, etc., etc. And for everything to come together, you need to working backwards from like the actual state of the product now. You need to have a stack, a stack of infrastructure that exists that's going to not only let you surface the data that you want to see about the chain, but also give you the hooks and give you like all the intermediary interfaces so that you can construct the transactions, broadcast them, like sign them, broadcast them, etc., etc. And so when we first started working on the protocol, we worked on the actual like sort of almost like bare metal logic that lets you do all of those action that actually like does the logic of storing the private state in a compact form, the DEX engine, like how it's going to route your trades against like the entire graph, how it's going to chunk it so that execution is optimal, et cetera, et cetera. And then slowly we got closer and closer to what we actually want users to interact with, which is an interface that is discoverable. So you don't need any specific domain-specific knowledge to exploit its functionality. An interface that lets you actually interact with the chain, but abstracting away all the unnecessary details and only surfacing what's interesting. So, for example, where's the liquidity? How much inventory can I move on a pair? For my own trades, like how are my own trades executed? How can I see the details of the cost basis or like the prices that I get? Which routes are my trade taking, and so on, and put that into Veil. And for that to happen, so you had to like create all the intermediary after the protocol is complete. You have to create all the intermediary stack. So indexing the data so that a front end or an explorer can actually take it and display it. Actually, like emit the events when execution occurs, and all that. So it took a while, and it's not done. But I think like the foundational sort of product work is starting to complete, and that's very exciting because that means we're not playing defense. There's no foundations to be built anymore. We're start playing offense and thinking about. And I think this is something like everyone can be very pivotal in, but thinking about end-to-end like journeys and how users like bring assets, like what is the routes that they take, like how easy it is to take those routes. Are there gaps in the ecosystem or in the technology that we can fill so that the status quo in terms of latency, in terms of cost, in terms of where you can bridge assets from can be filled? Like, is there something that we can do to like not just meet like what the interchain is at, like not just meet the sort of like baseline of bridging experience, but then like use all our engineering power and engineering sort of like firepower to create technology that like is actually like even better than the status quo, and is a real like differentiator in addition to the DEX and the privacy part. So this is kind of like nice because we can make things like 100 times better, literally, like pretty good.
It's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, I guess,
And sorry, just want to add one thing.
Go ahead.
When you like we got like really freaking good feedback on the feedback channel recently, and that feedback was not just the user like candidly saying, hey, like this sucks, and even that is helpful, but also describing like the journey that they took and where they were trying to bridge from, and how like there was this like the skip issue like actually totally blocked them, and it wasn't clear like why, and etc. And so this is so precious because it just gives information. It just like creates data points and lets us calibrate. And it felt really good to read, even if it it wasn't like it wasn't a pleasant experience for the user, like as like one of the builders. Like it's like so good to know.
Yeah, it's super interesting. What this makes me think about is like how your users are often more knowledgeable than you give them credit, right? And like sometimes having them go through an experience and reveal to you like the second order issues that are coming up from interacting with a particular interface or a particular like product that you've created and put out into their hands. Like you don't actually know what it is they're going to see that is like that you haven't accounted for in what it is that you expect, what you've expected them to see. And so what I mean by this is that like when you iterate on something, oftentimes the feedback you get on the one side, it's like, oh, they actually do get it. But it's like understanding at a deeper level what it is that's wrong, what their experience. And then on the other level, like what it's like to have your sort of expectations of what it is that you've built defied by what it is that people are actually interacting with. I bet that's been like a really interesting experience, like having you all have worked on this interface for so long. On so long, like these last 3 years, like iterating on an entire protocol, and then now having something literally interact with is has had to have been such an interesting experience, especially for being able to iterate on the product going forward. Um, so I'm curious, like, what are the next steps for the Veil software? Like Radiant Commons is very proud to be like hosting an instance for people to interact with. But I'm curious, like what's the horizon? What can we expect to change?
So I think there are a few things. Gar, I can also let you dig into it more, but in the immediate term, it's putting Veil into a sort of like better place in terms of experience. So taking care of like a long tail of low-hanging fruits that will just make like actually like LPing smoother and less of a chore. So for example, like being able to close multiple positions and select. Right now, it's either like you batch close everything, or like you have to select them individually. One low hanging fruit is just like, why can't you just select the ones you want to close and not select the one you don't want to close? So things like that are small to implement, but pretty good in terms of quality of life. Then we're going to supercharge the inspect page so that quote unquote like nerds can look into the chain state in ways that is sort of more detailed. So right now, like Veil like will render like specific data points about like what is the chain state. So for example, like the aggregate volume on different pairs. But maybe you are specifically interested in looking up a specific transaction or a block, or like see what kind of arbs occurred at like block height H, or you should be able to do that. So we're going to add like an inspect page that lets you just plug into the chain state and pluck the data you're interested in. It's not necessarily going to be super pretty, but the idea is just exposing the data somewhere. We're going to add, so right now, if you go on My Trades doesn't render anything. It should be like that. By the end of the week, you'll be able to see the details of your swaps and see actually which route they took historically, and the different hops. And the idea here is, well, first, it's kind of useful to be able to view your own trade history, but also it surfaces a very cool thing about the Penumbra DEX, which is that you don't need to do anything, and it's going to execute things optimally for you, and not just on the specific pair you're in, but against the entire graph. So if you do, say, like USD to BTC, it's going to not only like do the USD to BTC hop, but if it finds liquidity on USD ETH and ETH BTC, it's going to also take that route. And that's something that is extremely powerful from a market structure point of view, but also really cool to know as a user because no one else does that. And if they do, it's the work, which is extremely, extremely critical, is outsourced to an off-chain solver that kind of runs on trust. And Penumbra, as far as I know, is like the only place where it's done on chain. It's pretty fast and totally permissionless, and you don't have to trust any third party. Like you can, like everyone agrees on this is the canonical like solving strategy. So that's exciting. So we're going to push that, and then for the next few months. So sorry, and also where Skip is working on fixing the USDC issue. So this is also pretty exciting, and should be done pretty soon. And yeah, then after that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry, no, please.
No, I was gonna say it's looking like that should actually be ready like on the 18th, which is like very soon. Turns out working with like a authority like Circle takes a really long time to fix, but it looks like that fix is going through on the 18th, which means that experience as well, like the onboarding of USDC and to be able to come in and just trade in this environment is made even less made even less frictionful, even more frictionless.
Yeah. So on the 18th, yeah, I think so the skip issue should be fixed like this week, and on the 18th, Prax, the wallet, will be able to retire transparent addresses, or like probably going to be like the 20th or something, which is the transparent addresses are like it's UIP, I think 8. I want to see if you want to look at the technical details. But it was like an addition to the Penumbra protocol that we made to route around circles or like noble/circles like breakage of USDC transfers, and so our like the protocol answer to that was ratified by the protocol I think right before the New Year's on an upgrade was that there was a new address format to transparent addresses that would let you like manually it would let you basically the trade-off was some amount of privacy, but it would let you like route around that breakage. And so this is why if you use Prax, you can deposit withdraw using the manual option. However, if you try to use skip, it's not going to work. And it's not going to work because skip doesn't know about transparent addresses. So what skip is working on this week is going to be, well, being able to do transfers using transparent addresses when the chain is noble. And that will fix the flow on the skip run. And then Noble is working on an upgrade for their network that will fix the breakage altogether. And so when that happens, when they fix the breakage on the Noble chain, we're just going to be able to say in Prax, we're just going to be able to say, hey, like just use ordinary addresses. There's no need for transparent addresses anymore. Right. And this will be cool. Took a while, but now it's almost there.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out that when you build things in a decentralized setting, and there's a whole bunch of like other organizations and other developers building their own things that are supposed to work with yours, sometimes you have to work at their pace, which is like a little unfortunate. But it does bode well in the long run in terms of like the experience of interacting with Penumbra is going to be that much better. So I guess what I'm also curious about in general, so like I'm really bits of feedback on actually interacting with Veil, right? Like you mentioned it briefly there, but I also just want to reiterate it because it's something that's like really unique about Penumbra, which is this like routing capability that exists within Penumbra, right? It's kind of like all of the liquidity in Penumbra that is offered is unified as an option for any given trade. So when the chain was launched and people were trading through Penumbra, there was a little bit of a lack of understanding that this was the case, which like is good advice to take on the nose about teaching people through both the product as well as like in comms. But like people were trading one asset for another, and they were seeing that part of their route was like having it route through like the Shipma token, for example, which like like that's another like significant token that exists within the Penumbra right now. And the reason for that is that as everyone mentioned, right, if you want to accomplish a trade, like the network itself does the work of reconciling where that liquidity that's needed is available so that we can get around to the other side of actually reconciling the trade that you want. And the way it does this is by fragmenting that liquidity across like any number of routes to accomplish the goal of having exactly what you're looking for. The really cool thing about this is that actually it provides a really healthy environment for liquidity providers as well, where any liquidity provider for kind of any pair, if you're priced correctly, there is the possibility that the network is going to select you as part of the trading route for the desired user want. And that's the reason that's particularly exciting is because now, for the first time, there is a market out there that both serves its users on being able to reconcile a trade on the basis of liquidity that's available across the entire network, but also allows liquidity providers who have properly priced their positions to have the opportunity to earn off of the fees that they've set on the pairs that they offer, like regardless of where of what pair that they are they're providing, because the network has a chance of actually moving through that particular liquidity pair. So I don't want to understate the importance of this. And Veil does a great job, and I'm very excited to have this in front of everyone and have them work with it in this alpha version and provide even better feedback about like the experience of using it, specifically because understanding these parts of how it is that it works, either on the LP side or on the retail trading side, is going to go a really long way in people recognizing that this is actually like a significant step forward in what it means to interact with um, with uh, with a trading environment. And the really exciting thing about this is that nowhere in anything that I just said was the fact that it's private. The fact that it's private is actually part of the reason that this works so well, which is really what's really exciting. It's crucial to understand this just from the perspective of appreciating that, like, on most networks, the ability to arbitrarily move across all these different positions is not necessarily super efficient. And in a private environment, it's, like the network is more able to not reveal the actual strategies of individual liquidity providers while also accomplishing the user want. So I really want to like stress that this is like an incredibly important and sort of revolutionary step in how it is that Penumbra offers more agency specifically to both users and liquidity providers. So users of many the last thing I just kind of want to close on, just in the interest of time, because there are a couple of things that I would love to be able to turn to, and maybe we can talk about this even more. But is the fact that, as mentioned, right, this is an alpha development. We moved out of pre-alpha as of today. The environment is called Veil and it interacts directly and sits on top of Penumbra this means that you, if you're a user and you are interacting with the environment, like, we really want you to provide feedback what the experience of using this from as a protocol. So that means like using the wallet, bringing liquidity in, shielding, unshielding, exporting your privacy to other chains, acting directly with Veil itself. Understand what you're. Sometimes that's actually probably a good thing. And we would love the feedback for understanding the explains or offers you at least steps needed to get you towards understanding what you're doing. This is an incredibly powerful tool, and on top of an incredible seeing it really roll out into people's hands, they can learn from and interact with. So I don't know. Before we move on there, like Gar, I mean, I know Erwin said that we could speak a little bit more to maybe what like some of the further product vision is, and Erwan, you really eloquently on a lot of the more detailed parts of what's going to go into this. But I'd really love to know from like a product vision standpoint, Gar, if you want to speak a little bit to like what Veil could become and how it could become something that like acts as a home for people's private assets in the IBC ecosystem and beyond.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and I will say that it's been a really interesting process for me to to join the team right now, especially given that I frankly was not a user but before joining the team. So I just want to cover a couple of more quality of life improvements that we're looking at in the immediate term. Just that came to mind, Parker, we were talking about. Is it intuitive to look at Veil and know what you're doing? One thing I found myself being a little bit confused about in the first few days was having to switch over between Minifront and Veil to understand what my where I'm shielding, what my balances are, things like that. So it's important to note that we are looking at an updated version of the portfolio page, which would allow you to connect something like a Kepler wallet and look at all of your unshielded and shielded balances in the same view, and then be able to actually shield directly in that view. So it's like really intuitive to understand, okay, where are my assets right now? What is the totality of my assets? And how many, like, what are the assets I have available that I could go ahead and shield? I think that's going to, bring us, a good way along that journey, just to make it a more holistic experience for the Cosmos wallet. And I think the other thing that I would like to just highlight is that we're also discussing what it looks like for users arriving at Veil who have never used it before. So right now, you kind of need to have some knowledge of how it works to get started. It's not immediately apparent to users, how do I get started? And so a landing page for those new users will be very important to outline what those steps are, to make sure that we're kind of grounding users in what they should expect from the experience. And I think that is going to help us effectively reach a broad number of users across the ecosystem. I think we're going to be able to generate a lot of excitement about this and bring lots of new people to the platform. And it's really important that that experience is as frictionless as possible, such that they stay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I'm very excited to see this act as like this home base. And then, as you mentioned, right, like, how do you make something the home for interchain privacy? Well, like, you make it as easy as possible for people to access the interchain. Having the initial interface that people interact with, all those community hosted interfaces that people can interact with using Prax was like a very important first step in decentralization, being able to make it so that you can interact with the chain much earlier on. And Veil really represents this grow beyond that and continue having a that works. So my understanding is that you continuing to work on things, ship on a as constant a rate as possible. And for my part, from Radiant Commons, we're very excited community of users who can continue to work with you very closely to provide you with the feedback on the various front ends and products that are actually being hosted by the community of users themselves and interacted with by those users. So I just wanted to speak to that a little bit. So I really just significant achievement on your part as a team, like putting in the work here to really make something that is extremely exciting. And I'm extremely excited for people to provide a lot of feedback on as we move beyond the alpha and get into a finally fully fledged product that people can interact with. So I'm super excited about that. Yeah, okay. So, having said this, there are some today in this community call. As exciting as this is, and as much as we all day long, I really feel like I could, because here, and I'll have to do that on future community call. There's also something very exciting that I think we can speak to, an initiative that the Institute for Applied Numismatics took on over the course of the last week to award different validators within the set who have been a part of the Penumbra community in the past, and then especially to those who participated in the most recent network upgrade that was back in December. So the Institute for Applied Numismatics is the foundation holding entity that exists within the Penumbra ecosystem. Upon the launch of the chain, they hold a significant percentage of the network, and are using that specifically for holding up the ecosystem in a meaningful way. And one such effort that was taken on by them was to have this delegation event. The delegation event is kind of an evolution of the delegation program that we've seen a lot of other chains do. And it's a lot more retroactive. It's not something that's proactive in the way that other chains have engaged with, which does require like a lot more constant maintenance and oftentimes defeated expectations on what it is that different validator providers in the ecosystem and the stipulations of a validator delegation program are. So this particular delegation event was intended to be targeted at validators who had been supporting the network who were below the 50% of consensus mark, and specifically those who meaningfully contributed to VP at the turning of the most recent upgrade, and then they contributed to having the upgrade go up. So this is like the first event. I envision that there will be more of the future that are specifically oriented around retroactively rewarding and appreciating validators for showing up and validating on this chain in a meaningful way. 5 million were delegated in this event, which is a really significant delegation in the effort to sort of decentralize the network a little bit further. The fact that the top 13 validators on the network were constituting 50% of the voting power of the network was not great. So moving us to a new stage and like kind of encouraging further decentralization is something that we're going to see a lot more of in the future, and I feel very excited by. So those are the two main things that I would really going out and appreciating the validator community as well for like keeping this network going up into the current moment, because this is really demonstrated, like it's demonstrating its utility right now to have a network that is running and then to be able to run software that provides such a continuously improving user experience that is also fully private on the back on the back of it. This is going to continue to evolve over time, and there will show, and this is something that really wouldn't be happening were it not for the people that are supporting the network. This is obviously a decentralized project with lots of different entities that are participating and trying to make it succeed. And without the people who are making that effort, there wouldn't be a network here. So that's just something very important to note. Last little thing to bring up, and then maybe we can open up some time for questions, is the fact that the grants program, the application process for the grant program closed on the 31st. We had a good number of submissions across all of the different categories. So we're going to be moving to the next step in reviewing them and then moving ourselves to actually initiating the grants program here in the near future. Included among those, something that should very well the Veil experience. Like one of them, the desire to build a token factory on Penumbra, which means that there could, like Penumbra, any number be integrated into Penumbra. Additionally, there should be connection to more networks in the very near future, and being able to have assets generated on Penumbra move in and out of Penumbra in a meaningful way also could constitute like a really significant event for the Cosmos itself to have kind of like a meme generation environment that starts out private. And then beyond that, like there are other grants that are in place. For those of you who are concerned about doing your taxes, there is a Penumbra tax tool that is on the way. There are a number of teams that apply to this, which I suspect is probably because it is something that really people need. And some of the people who applied are in the audience right now, which I think is really funny. But that is something that I think I'm excited to see come together. There's also a number of people who applied for like marketing purposes, and we're really excited to see what that grants program is going to be. Amber, I don't want to like too much for you since you're in part running the grants program. I don't want to like talk about it a little bit about what people can expect of the grants program, and then we can turn over to questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we are reviewing the applications that we got. We have some follow-up questions for some folks. And so upon review, we'll do big announcements. We'll start onboarding people, and people will get to work. It is a micro grants program, so like people should have something to share with us in the communities within 2 months of the launch, kind of initial receipt of the funds, whether that's kind of an MVP of their product or the final product. And that'll all be done in community, so there'll be final presentations where we get to see the work and they get to show it off. So I'm very excited about that. And then there will be opportunities to apply for additional funding to continue the project or expand it, which we're very excited about. So trying to bring in people, get involved, participate. Yeah, so that's where we currently are. Very, very excited to see what came in.
Yeah, I'm really excited as well. I'm excited to see what comes from it, and just kind of the general of everything that goes into it. So like maybe we can turn it over to some questions here. I see we have our audience here. I don't know if there's any that are on Twitter as well. I think you mentioned it's like difficult to have comments there, but if there are people responding to the video, maybe that's something we can pull from. But I do see some questions in here. This might be asked, how are assets listed? Is this decided by the community or by the devs? It's, I would say, kind of both. Erwan, maybe you can speak a little bit to the asset, actually, like on Penumbra, if there's like a new connection to a new ecosystem, like a new chain. That'd be something you'd be willing to talk about for a second.
Sorry, what aspects of that specifically?
For like listing an asset. So let's say like a new chain gets added. You know, I've spoken about this a little bit, but like I figure it's better to come from you.
Yeah. So you I mean, I can let you all like speak to the high level part of this and future plans, but from a technical point of view, because Penumbra uses IBC, which stands for inter-blockchain communication. Transfer and making new connections is totally permissionless. So as long as you have a chain that also knows how to speak IBC, which historically has mostly been Cosmos SDK based chains, then like anyone can create a connection, create a new channel, and then what you actually need is someone like either the user themselves or a third party is going to relay packets between those two chains. And relaying packets is really just about you build a message that contains proofs that on chain A, the state of the IBC module is at a certain value or state, and you relay that proof back to the other chain, which can then assess that the proof is correct and update the state that way. And this is the backbone of token transfers using IBC. And so any chain that implements IBC can talk to any other chain that also implements IBC. And I can go into more details about like the technical roadmap and how it, how it's going to evolve in the future, and what kind of chains you'll be able to transfer from. But right now, because the chains are connected to the ETH ecosystem and Solana and so on, mainly Axelar and Layer 0, you can use IBC to transfer like any sorts of assets. And in the future, when a chain decides to start itself, they can also like create a connection to Penumbra. They could do it today. Like the big question always is who's going to actually relay the packets, and there are different schemes to either have a third-party relayer that does that as like a public good, or even better, if you think about it, the user itself, they can relay their own packets, and they're like the primary stakeholder who are interested in seeing messages flow from one chain to the next. So all that comes together with IBC, so to speak. There are different like paths. But if today like a chain starts and they want to connect to Penumbra, as long as they implement IBC, they can do it. Now for specific announcements, I'll defer to you, Park. But yeah, this is the high level view of how this works.
Yeah, follow-up question in the chat as well. I think you muted Park. Do you have any plans to expand out the Cosmos ecosystem to Sonic or Sui, for example?
For now, this is like mostly it has to do with like the permissionlessness. So if there is a connection to get into Sui or Sonic, then that would be possible, but like it's not necessarily something that is being directly engaged with. Like you got to start small with what you can actually execute on. And right now it's really looking like we have to stick to like everything that's already available within IBC and then kind of move forward from there. Yeah, Dismod, actually, like I know exactly who you are. I used to know you from the mod community, and I do agree. Like, something that like can and will be initiated as soon as relay stability is kind of like baked in. That's something we're working on right now in the back. I do want to like kind of ask Erwan, just like as a kind of like follow up to the asset listing question. What what specifically would it take for someone to, let's say, just like someone spun up a connection to some other chain because they wanted to do it as like a service. Let's say Dismo had spun up a connection to Namada, right? How would you have not listed specifically on Veil, for example?
So the only requirement there is Namada supports IBC and also like mostly an IBC chain. So the main requirement is just adding an entry to the registry, which is most people are familiar with it. It's open source repo where the Cosmos ecosystem sort of curates assets and related like metadata, like the image and so on. So that's truly like the main thing. So it renders nicely, but there's not really any work, and it's kind of a strength of just the IBC ecosystem in general, and just permissionless bridging. There's no asset listing. Like there's no. You create a connection, you relay packets. That's it. Then it's the DEX is totally permissionless. He doesn't know the specifics of any other chain. He doesn't really care if it's the DEX. All it knows how to do is transform value and route things and do that in a very like sort of like efficient and smart way, so to speak. But the asset listing part is not really a thing like it is on centralized exchanges. You don't need to get like anyone's permission to actually go on and like create a connection and bring the assets in the Penumbra shielded pool and then put them in the DEX. There's no
again, just for having like put it out in the community for people to interact with and provide feedback on. This is just the first step, right? The alpha development, meaning it is something that was just put out into the world for people to interact with, for people to break, for people to try out, and really provide like significant feedback on. And what I'm really excited about is to see how this continues to evolve in the future, especially in the hands of such a capable team. So for my part, and on behalf of at least this Penumbra community, because maybe there will be many more in the future, I really want to just congratulate Penumbra Labs on creating software that people can use to train on Penumbra in a really significant and amazing way. Especially something that is completely innovative, and on top of being innovative, is private. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, that puts us right at time. Unless there's a question, I'm going to cut it there today. If you have any questions, please feel free to put your hand up. Wait a couple minutes. But thanks again.
We're always in the Discord.
Always in the Discord. We're always around. We're always willing to answer and respond to things.
Yeah.
We have a highly capable mod team as well, who's willing to help you if you're having issues.
Absolutely. Thanks guys so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Take care. Bye.